I got all the extra Jar Jar Binkses. They're going to be worth a mint one day.
Welcome to another episode of Chewing the Fat. I am your host, Big Rob. Thank you so much for tuning in, downloading the podcast. I want to say thanks to my new friends, Jake and Allison. Bought me a coffee at chewingthefatbr.com. I certainly do appreciate that. Also to the folks that have followed the podcast on Instagram at chewingthefatbr. I really do appreciate that. And speaking of friends, I am really excited about my guest in studio today. He's a longtime friend. We don't get together as much as we used to, but that's okay because life happens. But I want to have a good time reconnecting with my friend right now. Please welcome Phil Greer.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. First off, the music to start this, amazing.
Thank you.
Where's that from?
Jacob Johnson.
Okay, so little Jake. I've heard of him. Yeah, he's done a few ditties.
Yeah. Just a couple of ditties, but he actually wrote that for me. So
nice. Yeah. Well, that's super cool. Well, I'm excited to be here and catch up again. We, as you mentioned, longtime friends, and life does happen. When we first became friends. Lucas wasn't even born, and maybe Grace was a small baby. Mm-hmm. Now my kids are 16 and 13, so life has happened.
It has happened. Phil, I met Phil in the Sunday school class at First Baptist North Augusta. Because we had just moved to town and we're trying to find like a church home and all that stuff, and found this cool group of weirdos with Phil and Gerald Brown, and it was, it was such a really good vibe, and it felt like home.
Right. You fit in quite naturally, especially since you describe it as a group of weirdos. I think that that's your audience probably understands.
Yeah, no, they absolutely understand that. Phil, are you from Augusta or North Augusta area initially? There?
No, not initially. My dad was military, so I was born in Japan. Grew up, probably my most pivotal childhood memories were in Germany.
Oh, wow.
And then my dad retired here in Fort Gordon, and I went to high school. And so I've been in the Augusta. I was in the Augusta area since high school, and then moved away for a little bit and just came back a few years ago.
Okay. You know what? I don't think I ever realized that you were born in Japan.
You should ask more questions.
I know, right? It's like,
Yeah, someone was actually, it was funny. I was talking to my daughter's boyfriend. Yes, my daughter has a boyfriend. His mother, and she was saying, "Oh, were you born in this part of Okinawa?" And I was like, "I actually have no idea." It's one of the reasons I don't talk about much is when you're literally a baby till the age of 2, it doesn't matter where you are because you have no memories. And we moved back. Hopefully my mom will correct me on this, but I think we moved back to the States when I was 2.5 or 3. Mm-hmm. So born in Japan, I know nothing about it other than business travel as an adult.
Yeah. And like you said, you were military, so I'm sure it was near some sort of military base.
Yeah. Well, Thomas's mother knows, and I don't.
Yeah.
She was stationed there for Air Force, I believe.
That's fun. So traveling around, landed here in Augusta. This is where you went to high school.
Mm-hmm. Go Hepzibah, go Rebels.
Okay. What were you into in high school? Because see, I know you as, like, we first met. You were a computer programmer. You were a guitar player. You were an active, like, get out and do things, motocross bike rider, and so, like, you're a lot different than I see you now and the things that you. And I mean, I met a different version of you.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Again, life happens.
Yeah.
Met a different version of you. And I love that version of you. I love this version of you too. But what were you into? Like,
so computers first. Yeah, my dad was in communications in the military. Mm-hmm. So we were always tinkering with computers. I remember when I was 3, we had a Commodore 64, and I was already starting to play with that and program on it. And I wouldn't call that programming. That was more of just trying to load programs itself, and then getting into BASIC with a 286 and a 386 and 486, et cetera. And so a lot of my childhood always had a similar theme of computers. My mom really wanted me to to learn them. She just saw that as the future. Good for her. Shout out to Sherry. She was right. And then on top of that, music. My dad played harmonica, and my brother ended up picking up the guitar, and I wanted to play the guitar. My mom made me play the clarinet. But you know what? First chair, 6th to 8th grade. What's up? That was me. And then 8th grade, I finally convinced my mom that, look, I'm being serious about this music thing. And she bought me a guitar. And so I spent those formidable years of 9th grade to 12th grade going to make it as a musician. Okay. Writing a lot of music, playing a lot of music. And started a studio. You got a studio here, had a home studio, recorded rap music. Wow. Actually, not me. I can't rap to save my life. Maybe to save your life, but not my life. No, so I recorded some rap music in Hefs with some local artists. I say artists, they were just high schoolers. Right. And
but it's the respect you put on them. I appreciate
of course.
That.
Yeah.
I can appreciate the respect you're putting on them.
So that was my high school. I was going to be a musician, and my fallback was always going to be computers because we can't all be Michael Jordan, and I realized that by senior year I realized, okay, this whole music thing's really hard. I don't think I'm going to make it. I'm going to go back to my fallback.
Do you remember any of the original songs that you wrote?
100%. Yeah, 100%. I still.
Give me a hook of one of your first songs.
Jenny, are you feeling okay today? You still stay up late and sleep at your own pace. I don't want to hear them say. That was Jenny. That was one of the.
Wow.
Yeah, that was one of the.
I mean, it's not bad.
It's not bad. It was catchy.
It's not bad at all.
It was catchy.
It is.
Yeah. That was the one that probably most people connected with. That one, and I had another one called Toyo Wagon. So my first vehicle was this old 1988 Pinto Toyota wagon. It might have been earlier than 88. I can't remember what year it was. It was old. And it was handed down from family member to family member. I was the youngest of 5, 2 adopted.
Wow.
Yeah, and 3 biological. I was the youngest. So we all got to ride in this Toyota wagon. By the time I got it, no seats in the back, but it was perfect for a 16-year-old kid who's, going to be a leading musician.
Yeah.
Because I got to shove all my band equipment in there and take that around. So I wrote a song called Toyo Wagon. So that was the other one that was pretty memorable that most people know. That one. Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. It's weird. My first vehicle was a Toyota station wagon as well. It was a Corolla station wagon. It was white. I think it was like maybe like an 81, 82 or so. Blue pleather interior. It was.
My wife or my girlfriend at the time thought it was the hottest thing ever. And now my wife. And so, there's something.
It must have worked.
A man with a van has a plan. I'm just saying. And quote me on that.
That's awesome. So you decided that the music thing wasn't going to work out, and so is that when you kind of started to?
Honestly, what happened was I was going to get married, and my fiance, my now wife at the time, told me, "I can't marry you if you don't have a job." And
that's smart.
Yeah, you've got 1 year to figure out this music thing. And this was my senior year of high school. Yes, for those who are doing the math, I got engaged my junior year of high school.
Wow.
So I took my last year of high school. I just focused on music that entire year. And then towards the end, she said, "How's it going?" Checking in, taking the pulse. And I said, "I'm applying for jobs right now." Wow. So I hung that up. And I think, from there, I think I went to Circuit City. Yeah. Yeah. I went to Circuit City. That was the place back in the day. It's where you got all your electronic needs.
It really was. I mean, it was the poor man's Radio Shack. I mean, but yeah, it was the place to be.
Yeah. Yeah. So I got that job, and we both went to college together, and and we did computer science, and kind of kept on trucking from there.
That's awesome. Where'd you go to college at?
Augusta University.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, was it Augusta University then, or was it Augusta College still?
I think it was right after it was Augusta College. So it was Augusta State University.
State, yeah.
It was Augusta State University. Nice. I don't know the shout out mantra. So go Augusta State University.
Jaguars,
maybe.
Jaguars?
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Go Jags. I feel like I've seen.
I was working full time at that point. I had a full time job at Bridgestone Firestone, and I was working full time, married full time, in college full time.
Wow.
Yeah. So I
overachieved much. I mean,
yeah. No, I like to say busy. I like to. You described me as a musician, motocross, outdoorsy. Yeah. I always have a series of things that interest me, and I like to fill my schedule with activities, especially things that challenge the brain or let me live on the edge.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, trying to make it as a musician while being engaged and finishing high school, that's living on the edge, baby.
Yeah, it is. Wow. That's awesome. So so when I fast forward to around 20, I guess that would be 2007, 8, 9, somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where we met. Gosh, it's crazy to think that was like almost 20 years ago, but again, time happens. You are married, child. You still riding the motocross and doing that type of stuff back then. And then you decided to, I didn't say you decided to. I mean, like I said, it's work. Your journey at the job you're at now, mm-hmm. that you are the president.
CEO now.
CEO. Right. So you the CEO a step up from president?
Yeah, it's a common. Most people are not quite sure because sometimes you have the president and you have the CEO. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you are the CEO and president. Mm-hmm. But a CEO is a step up. I was promoted to that in 2018.
Yeah. At Best Lawyers, but you were a programmer there. You were writing code, right? Originally, that's kind of how you're like figuring out how to make all that crazy stuff happen on the backside. And the only reason I say that is because I think it's inspiring for people who are like, man, I'm just slaving away, I know it's not what in HTML, but in the Python or whatever, you were coding as or whatever,
I'm loving this. Keep going.
You're HTML, in the binary. You're in the binary.
The Matrix is calling.
Right, exactly.
It's 1999. Exactly. The white rabbit shows up.
Exactly.
And Neo, follow me.
Right.
All this
that
happened.
Was you.
This was actually based on my story.
I feel like it was.
Yeah.
I feel like it was. I mean, Woodward White. Whoa.
Yeah.
Wait, he was the white rabbit.
Yeah, it was the white rabbit. Yeah. All right. I kind of, so I guess I need to give you a little bit more color here. So,
I can make stuff up.
No, we are. My name's not even Phillip. No, it is. So went to college. Kristen and I got married, went to college. I started working at Bridgestone Firestone, mm-hmm. and I was working there full time, going to college full time, married full time. And I was still doing music, but not nearly as much. The focus I really had was writing software. So I was doing work for Bridgestone Firestone, but also writing some stuff on the side. I was really big into video games. I like to write little fun video games. My favorite one I ever wrote, I called it Mr. T Strikes Back. I do not have any of the rights to this. Okay. But the idea was you were Mr. T, you were the head of Mr. T, and you would fly around. And imagine a side-scrolling game. Mm-hmm. So Mr. T is flying through space, and you had stormtrooper heads on the other side, your opposition coming at you. So your protagonist, your antagonist, mm-hmm. and Mr. T shot lasers out of his eyes. It was pretty amazing. And whenever the stormtroopers would explode, they would then shoot off multiple explosion debris. Mm-hmm. So you had to avoid that while also killing all these stormtroopers. So that was really my passion and throughout college was writing little silly games like that and also chat programs. I had one chat program called POL that we used at Bridgestone because the network team there, they locked down everything. You couldn't have access to any fun websites or anything. So mm-hmm. I decided to take a weekend and write a Phil Online, POL. Okay. And the ongoing joke was always everybody got invited to join Phil's poll, and that was the that was the internal joke. But everyone in the that was on a desktop computer at Bridgestone Firestone could download my software, and then we could all chat and have fun. And I had it before the world of memes. You can create memes, images, and put them in there, and you had GIFs. It was ahead of its time. Wow. So much so, whenever I tell people this story, entrepreneurial friends of mine, they say, you wrote Slack before Slack existed.
Yeah.
I said, I know I was a kid who would just want it to bypass the security of Bridgestone Firestone.
So you could talk to your friends in the
so
other
I can
cubicle.
send them
Right.
silly images back and forth. So I was doing that, making no money, having a lot of fun writing that type of code. And my wife told me, you need to get like a real job, like Bridgestone Firestone. There's nothing wrong with Bridgestone Firestone. I was a co-op there. There wasn't a full-time position for me. So let me clear that up. Bridgestone Firestone, my mom retired from there. Fantastic place. But I had a full-time co-op position. So it was, $10 an hour.
Yeah.
As many hours as I want to work, but just,
But if you also wanted to see this full-time wife,
there's no survival on that salary back then.
Yeah.
So she found me this company called Best Lawyers in the newspaper back when we found jobs in newspapers, and it was looking for a programmer to come in and digitize their process of doing research. So I always imagined it was a stepping stone for me. Like, I'll do this for 3 years. Well, first off, I get Kristen some credit. I told her I don't want this job. I told her I didn't want it, and she told me, "No, you're going to go in interview for it." So I said, "Okay." That's what being a good husband is.
Absolutely,
you say yes. So I interviewed. I got the job. I took it, and was going to do this for a couple of years and then move on. And it was just kind of interesting. I got to write all kinds of fun software. I got to port software I was already kind of tinkering with into real applications. So I had this POL software that would allow me to chat and send files back and forth. Well, I need to build a custom system for the program for the end users at Best Lawyers. And so I needed a way to send files across the network, but also do updates. And this was before you had all these app stores and all this stuff. You had to do, it was very manual, a lot of work. So I turned my POL software into a SUC software, which is a software update center. So I'm a big fan of acronyms.
You really are.
I'm a big fan of acronyms. I've got a lot of funny ones I'm not going to mention here. A lot of applications I've written with some much more clever acronyms. So I took POL and I turned it to SUC, and we all used that and then I wrote all the software that I wrote and developed at Best Lawyers early on actually went through the SUC pipeline. So whenever people would call and say, like, my program's not worth it, I'm just like, you'll suck it.
Right. Nice.
Go update your software. That's what you do when you're 21, 22 and, having fun. So that's the transition you're looking for. How did I get to the company I'm at? And that was, that's kind of the path.
And so how then do you transition from, writing SUC software into being the president and then CEO, or CEO then president?
It's president and then CEO.
Okay, right.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. When I was offered the president job, I Googled what's higher, president or CEO. I'm not gonna lie.
Right.
This was I Googled what is a higher position.
Right.
So I've always been an entrepreneur. Like when I was in high school, I had a music studio. I was selling candy on the side. I was making baked goods. I'd make every night when I wasn't doing studio work for my music or recording other people. I was baking Rice Krispie treats and brownies, and then I was selling them on the side. That was to support my dating habits in high school, but also just to like work on business acumen. So I've always seen opportunity. And wanted to kind of fulfill that need. It's kind of like, what's that movie? See a Need?
Robots.
Yeah, Robots. Yeah. Fill a Need. Yeah.
See a Need, fill a Need.
I remember when that came out, watching that, I'm like, yes, that's me. I see a need. And I fill it with a PHIL. See a need, fill a need. And that's kind of that's my entire existence. Whenever there's an opportunity and I see people have an interest,
they just need to insert Phil into it.
Yeah, they just need Phil. They need me.
A Phil.
They need Phil. When I was in college, I had a huge DVD collection, and all of my relatives and friends would come over and borrow my movies and never return the dang movies. So I took these old scanners we had that Bridgestone Firestone was getting rid of. So I didn't take it. They were donated to me from the company. old scanners, and I built a Filibuster. And it was an application. Everybody that came over got a laminated card. I made it. And then I had my entire database of DVDs in my collection.
Oh
and if you borrowed any of my DVDs, you had to use your Filibuster card. I logged you in. I got you taken care of. I charged you $1 per rental. And you got to keep it for all week. And after that, like you started to get an incremental $1 per day, and that was my policy. So always whenever there's a need, you want something from me or something I've got hundreds of DVDs because I worked at Circuit City and I was collecting them because that's going to be the commodity one day. DVDs. Right. This is it, baby. I got it. DVDs are the future.
Investing deep in this one.
It's like when everybody was buying all the Phantom Menace toys, and they're like, "This is it. I missed the last Jedi.
I missed the original trilogy.
So
I got it this time.
I've got all the Phantom Menace toys that they got. Right. I got all the extra Jar Jar Binks. They're gonna be worth just a mint one day." That was so how do I get to become the president, then CEO? First off, you have to recognize when there's opportunity. There's opportunity in a room and what you can do to fill it. I've never
fill it.
There you go. I'm a big fan of that part.
You really are.
Yeah. The ability to recognize that opportunity, it's naturally, youngest of 5. You're growing up moving every 2 or 3 years. In the military, you're just constantly changing locations, having to make new friends, having to assess situations. It becomes, it's a skill that was learned for me, and it can be learned from others, but you do have to break some of that habits. You got to be able to open your eyes and go, okay, how can I start seeing needs? Well, ask yourself, what would it be like if you didn't know anyone or the area and you were just dropped in out of nowhere? How would you acclimate? What would you notice about people around you? So I had the blessing of that ability from traveling so much as a kid, or moving so much. I wouldn't say traveling so much, moving so much. So at Best Lawyers, there was a need for software. There was a need to improve. I saw there was network issues. Is there a way we can speed up the service that we can get to our clients? Is there a way that we can improve the process for calling our customers? So, as I was building software, I thought, how can I make software better? So I noticed I created a CMS that allowed our employees to start. It's called Walmart. Allows our employees to start accessing and putting data into that central database. Nothing complicated there. But back then you had to create your own custom ones, or you use something called Access Database, which thank God is pretty much gone these days. Some people still hang on to it. So I noticed that it still took a lot of time for people to pick up the phone, dial in the number, especially if they didn't know the area codes, and then call. So I thought, okay, great. If we switch to a voice over IP system, I can probably programmatically make this dialing more efficient. So we got a voice over IP system set up, and I had code set up so that when you clicked a button, and this sounds so generic today, but back then it was foreign. Yeah. Back then you didn't have your iPhone. You just pick it up and click every button you see. So to be able to touch the Walmart phone number button and it just starts calling people. Fun fact, I took that same software I wrote for that. I was really big into American Idol back then. Like everybody was. I used to have American Idol parties with my friends. And I created American Idol auto dialer. And so what would happen at night, we'd all get together on my couch, my friends, and we'd watch and figure out who we want to vote on for the night. I pull up my software and I would plug in the number that you're supposed to vote for, click it, and then all 30 phones in the Best Lawyers offices would start dialing for the next 3 hours straight or hour straight or whatever it was. And that's the type of things. Anytime there was an opportunity, we loved American Idol. I've got phone dialer software I just finished writing. How can I automate this to start calling everybody and solving my needs here? So
make sure your favorite wins.
I still think that game is rigged, but overall,
I feel like they've put some hurdles in the way, probably because of you.
I don't know what you're talking about. I am just a man who is trying to assist in the participation process that they call on to for the audience,
right?
In mass, in automated fashion,
right? Without actually having to do it more than once.
Yeah, they want me to. Yeah, they want you to do it. That's why they give you the number.
Yeah.
So opportunities, seeing them, being able to recognize them, and figure out solutions. And so we, outside of little, I can be in the weeds of all these little things, but everything adds up. It's all just the sum of all these little things is what makes the whole.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when I talk to people and they say like, well, how do I do this or that? It just seems so overwhelming. I just want to accomplish this really big thing, or that's just way too much. It's just a matter of, whatever expression you want to use. You eat that well one spoonful at a time. Right. You just had to figure out all the little steps you need to take to get to a larger thing. Even if you don't even have a major goal. I didn't have a goal of being the CEO of Best Lawyers. It wasn't my goal. I did have a goal of wanting to run something in the company, starting with the IT staff, and then maybe potentially doing something else, whether that was through a different company. So yeah, just continuing to build upon that. Also, it helps. I'm, again, moving around so much as a kid. You have to learn how to talk to a lot of people. Yeah. You have to be able to relate to a lot of people. So to get into something like a presidential role, you really have to be understanding of all types of personalities. You got to be quick on your feet. You have to understand situations when you walk in a room. And you try changing schools in elementary 5 different times. You will figure out how to assess who's the bully, who's the good kid, who's the one who's your math elite that's going to help you out on something. You can assess that room very quickly. And if you're good and kind along the way, and ultimately people like you in that regard, they'll respect you. Yeah. And so that has a lot of value in being who you are, being your authentic self, but also recognizing who the people in the room are. What is their authentic self, so that you can work with their personalities. So a mix of seeing opportunities, seeing needs, filling those. That's another PHIL pun. Also recognizing the different personalities and figuring out how to work with people. I want to say it's that easy. I recognize it's quite complicated because it takes a lot of change in self.
Well, and it's one of those things where it sounds like somebody might say, well, also you're just lucky. You're lucky, and it's like I believe in luck to a certain extent, but also I definitely believe in the adage that luck is preparation and opportunity intersecting. You were preparing your whole life and you didn't even realize it, because those experiences that you went through helped form who you are and how you react to things. It may have been a self-defense type thing at first, because you're like, oh, I got dropped into a new school, need to figure out how to not, get an atomic wedgie, at lunch.
Sure.
So, you were able to then take that skill and apply it in other areas of your life that you thought, well, this will never necessarily be something that will come up or whatever, but it just became ingrained in you, and now it's natural.
Yeah.
Like you said, that you, and with your entrepreneurial spirit and your wanting to do something and wanting to be able to see the needs that need a solution, like a bit of a puzzle solver there. It's like, okay, how can this puzzle be solved? How can I apply my knowledge and the things that I have to make a better way?
Yeah, yes, I agree with all that. I also agree that, luck does play a role, but it does take that preparation. And anyone who knows me knows I get obsessed about things. I get obsessed about it, and I want to learn everything about something if I care about it. Whatever the topic of the day is for me, I just want to know. I'm fascinated. I want to know so much. And I think that's important, the ability to laser focus on a craft or a subject matter, or to be multidisciplinary, and maybe you're a jack of all trades. I remember, what's this saying? Jack of all trades, master of none. Mm-hmm. I think the jack of all trades is the real solution, personally, for my personality, because if you can know a little bit about a lot of things, you can grow your network of people who do master certain fields or disciplines, and you can talk to them in their language. Mm-hmm. Whether you're talking about finances, something I learned a lot about is professional business finance. I'll say that. Something I learned a lot about. I didn't go to school as an accountant, but it's important as a CEO that I know a lot about how our books work, how we're evaluating GAAP and how we determine what the EBITDA is and make budgets and forecasts out. This is extremely important. If I can't do that and think on my feet, I'm going to fail in a boardroom meeting.
Yeah.
So those are things that I don't know. I don't need to know everything about because I have a fantastic financial team that works with me. But I need to know at least enough of the language so that I fit in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that way you're not necessarily throwing a curveball.
Yeah.
Because I think for you, in just speaking of you as a person, you have a great empathy. You have a great want to know people on a very genuine level as well. And so I think that has served you well as a human being, and probably it serves you very well as as CEO of a company as well, because you understand where people are coming from, you understand people's strengths, and you can get them aligned to the places that are going to make the most sense for them and for you, and your company and stuff as well.
Well, I appreciate that. I do think it's important to be empathetic to the person. We've all been in the situations where we just feel like we're underwater, and to know what it's like to have that level of anxiety and stress, and for someone to come in and to just see you and recognize, oh my gosh, okay, I'm not alone in the way I feel about this work problem, this life problem. It's important. We've all been there, and I think that's important for me because, whenever my employees go through something really hard, personally, outside of work, I always tell them, this is just a job. Like, I know I'm the boss, I know I'm the CEO, and I know we have these deadlines, but ultimately, at the end of the day, this is just a job. And what's really important is your whole. Yeah. So being able to just acknowledge that makes a huge difference for people. And I appreciate it when people acknowledge that with me. Yeah. One of the negatives when you get a little bit higher up, there's not as many people who acknowledge that for you, but that's kind of as you get into management and continue to go, that's kind of where it's at. And you have to find friends and family that assist with that. And I do. I have a lovely support team outside of my work that are constantly understanding and caring and allowing me just to talk, and also telling me it's going to be okay. That's a tough one. That's tough for anybody.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And this is just one memory I have for you that I still have. And this is just tangential. We did a Christmas party, and we had to buy each other gifts and stuff like that. And there was a challenge that it couldn't cost over X amount of dollars or whatever. And it had to come from a flea market, and it had to have a good story behind 100%. It. So I have an Eiffel Tower dagger letter opener that you gave me.
I remember that. That was a good one.
And it's still one of my treasured possessions and stuff. And Val often will be like, are we just leaving this thing out? I'm like, yeah, it's useful. It's a letter opener, but it's also the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah. Make sure you get all the blood stains off of
it. Yes. That was the good story that went along with it.
I always like silly things like that. No matter how important or big something is, if you need to have fun with it, you need to have fun with it. It's so, I think we're getting back to having more fun professionally as well. I'm seeing it in more offices. But there was a time pre-pandemic where it felt like everything just got real serious, and if you remove the fun and the silly from life, then you start to ask yourself, what is this for? I need a purpose. Yeah. I don't mind working somewhere that is routine. I don't actually. My job is, luckily, I'm very blessed. It's very creative and it's not routine. But I don't mind work. Even when I worked at Bridgestone Firestone, it was a very routine job. Or I worked at Circuit City, it's very routine. I just have to have fun to keep me engaged. And that really comes down to, I put that on not the employees or the people, but the mentors and the managers. don't lose that element of fun. Play flea market gift swap exchange and find an Eiffel Tower letter opener. There's always a little bit of silly funds, or convince your friend Rob to buy micro RC cars and have a micro RC race in the center of and close down the road in Walnut Grove in North Augusta, and have a RC racing event that is so important and real. You actually have a kid whose whole job is to run and flip the cars back over and then make sure you get lots of raw footage of that, because you never know one day when you're going to take those gigabytes and gigabytes of RC race car footage and use them. They're still on a hard drive somewhere in one of my drawers.
Still haven't found a chance to use that yet, but it is. I'm sure it's still there.
Maybe my elder years, I'll have it edited down and turn into something that, like, back in the day, we used to play with these RC cars that were really small. They were teeny. We had races in the roads of Walnut Grove.
Go up the driveway and turn around.
Oh, man.
That's good stuff. So, Phil, what's bringing you joy right now?
What's bringing my kids right now? My kids, I mean, the biggest joy I get is watching my children have opportunities that I didn't have. And I don't want to speak lightly to my upbringing. I had more opportunities than most. I mean, I had computers and musical instruments, and my parents just let me do all these silly, crazy little projects I won't even get into, just as kids do, and create all these small businesses. So so my childhood was full and rich in that regard, but my children get a childhood that's different in the sense that they have more opportunities of, I have more time when I get home at night, and I have a multidisciplinary background of, you want to learn about music, you want to learn about philosophy, you want to talk about some AI that I think is going to change the future. So sitting down with my children and really just seeing how they think, or most of the time just disagree with me, is kind of exciting. That brings me and my wife a lot of joy.
And I love hearing, as someone who's personally in theater and stuff like that, I know your kids have done some theater around here. So, and I love seeing the posts where and seeing the things that they're into, and seeing the paths that they're on. Like I said, from one of them not existing when we first met to seeing them turn into the pretty amazing humans that they are. I think it's
100%. Yeah, Lucas is he wants to he's loves being a thespian. He's big into musical theater. He just has such a heart for it. And lately I've been watching him. He's 13 now, as I mentioned earlier. I've been watching him kind of blossom into having a love for choreography. And so right now, actually, before I left, he's working on some choreography for a 3-minute song from Fame that they're going to do in 8th grade. And it's so cool to see. He's like, all right, in this scene, we're going to be a diamond, and then we're going to have the sweat. They're going to come around here, and then the main actor, the singer's going to pop up from the center, and there's going to be a chash and a chash. And I'm doing these silly hand movements that just insert into your own mind, and Rob will describe them to you later. So that's been a lot of fun, watching him find his niche when it comes to musical theater, because that's a very challenging thing to be a part of, because you have so many talented people. It's not everyone gets to be the star, but if everybody works together, you can make a great show. And honestly, it's not always about being the star. It's that background that makes it happen. And so watching that with my son, and then my daughter, who's she's been into a lot of different things. Lately, her biggest thing has been cheer. She's a co-captain of the cheer team, varsity cheer team at Augusta Preparatory Day School. And actually, my son is a cheerleader as well. He's in 8th grade. He got promoted to varsity cheer squad as well. So watching both my son and my daughter starting this season cheering on the same squad at the football games is pretty exciting. So that's a joy bringer, 100%.
All right, Phil, this is the second segment of the show. We dive a little bit more into your mental health journey. I'm a big believer that, personally, as someone that has suffered from depression, that one of the things it wants to tell you is that you are alone and you're the only one that's going through this. And so I think the more we can have conversations about it, and about mental health and destigmatize it, the easier it is to understand that you are not alone. So for you, how do you keep the darkness at bay?
You know, I'm very blessed in the sense that I don't have any significant suffering personally. I've had a lot of friends in my life that have had troubles, and I've been able to sit with them and be with them. I've had friends that have committed suicide. So I definitely understand the darkness that is out there, and it's a part of everyone. I go through highs and lows just like everyone else does, and I think it's important to be able to identify the things that are really at the root cause. So my wife and I always talk about, like, what's the real problem? And this is not me. This is my wife. I got to give Kristen all the credit here. Whenever I'm combative or grumpy or just being mean, my wife will ask me, and she'll tell me stop and look at me and say, like, what's the real problem? Because I know it's not the cereal box she just threw. I know it's not the kids who left the bag on the floor, because that bag has been on the floor for 3 weeks, and now today is the big issue, and today's the day you kick it.
Right.
So, being able to identify that internally, like, what is the real problem? What's bothering you? What's eating at you? Yeah. I'm a big fan of therapy. Yeah. I've had a few different therapists in my life. I have the one I'm working with now for a little over 2 years, going on 2 years. Even just to someone to talk to, even if we're just talking about TV shows, sometimes that's what my sessions are. It's, I don't have any, things are going pretty well. What are you watching on Netflix? Just someone to talk to that's not your direct people who are affected by you constantly. So for me, identifying what the problem is, what's the real problem, what am I experiencing? Obviously, talking to loved ones about it, and having a therapist that you can speak to on the regular, even if you don't feel like you have something to talk about. It's interesting. I had a session. I do my sessions remote. I had a session recently. And I told her, I said, I'm so sorry, I have nothing to talk about. But I just wanted to make sure you got paid. So I showed up for the meeting. How long do we need to stay on to make sure you get paid? And she was like, oh, I think as long as you connect, I get paid. And I was like, all right. Well, anyway, so I'll just tell you about something. Anyway, my kids and this, that, and we end up lasting longer than a normal session
with nothing.
With nothing. I was gonna cancel because I had absolutely nothing. And so I guess the final thing I would say about that is don't cancel. It's so it's so easy. How many times have you gone, oh, me and my friend, we are going to go catch up and go to lunch. And then the day before, the level of anxiety that grips inside them, the idea is like, I don't really want to go to lunch. I don't need to go to lunch. Oh, I can postpone that lunch. People cancel so much. I've had this happen in friendships. I've had this happen in professional connections. And I've been the one of the guilty parties many, many a times. I'll be honest. Today, I woke up, my schedule was full. I was on a podcast earlier. You're
on one right now.
I'm on one right now as well. Yeah. I had a lunch meeting with someone I mentor, and we were catching up. She was telling me about her business growth. And I woke up and I was like, I'm going to contact Rob and tell him I'm going to cancel. And then I had to sit there and go, nope, I don't need to cancel, because that's keep my consistency in the things I say I'm going to do. So, whenever you feel that way, whenever you feel like you're wanting to cancel things, ask yourself, what's the real problem? So this morning I had to ask myself, what's the real problem? I was grumpy. I had a big, busy day, and I didn't want an extremely big, busy day. And then I had to sit there and go, well, Rob's not busy. No, you're busy. I mean, Rob is not a busy part of my day. Rob's a fun part of my day. That should be the treat. Like spending the evening with Rob should be the treat. So why would I get rid of the thing that is supposed to bring me joy?
Wow.
So, I guess that's that all those things combined.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you not counseling, and I appreciate you thinking this is fun. This is part of your joy. But yeah, you're right though. It's, and I've mentioned this before. It's one of those things where as I've said several times, life happens. You don't know when that next opportunity's going to be. You don't know what's going to happen outside of that. I think you need to leave any situation as best as you possibly can, with as much love and kindness as you possibly can, because you never know if there's going to be another opportunity. I mean, and that's not to be like everybody's going to die. I mean, yes, everybody's going to die, but like I've had friends that I wish I had another, chance to have a cup of coffee with, or just to talk to one more time, or maybe you said something off the last time you talked to this person, you never had a chance to really like reconcile that.
Yeah.
And as I get older, I feel that even more. The more I feel like, hey, I've got more years behind me than I do ahead of me, and that's just statistically factual. You know what I mean? It's as I turned 51 this year. It's just that's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
I doubt I'm going to reach 102. So I've got more behind me than ahead of me. So I want to make sure that, in every interaction, there's a purpose for it. There's a reason to be in it, and to be kind and loving to whoever you're in that interaction. You can as much as you possibly can.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I would say it really goes back to don't cancel.
Yeah.
Just take the opportunity to say yes. I fully agree with what you're saying.
All right, Phil, this is the third segment of the show. It's time now for the Fast Five. The Fast Five.
This is fancy.
It's time now for the Fast Five. Fast Five. Sorry, I'm still working on a theme song for this segment of the show.
I know a music producer who used to do some interesting licks. Maybe he can help you out.
Maybe I'd appreciate that.
I'll fill you in later.
Fast Five is powered by Pod Decks. It's an app created by my friend Travis Brown. He's got physical decks that you can get at poddecks.com. As a matter of fact, if you go to chewinthefatbr.com/poddecks and put in promo code CHEW, you can get 10% off your physical decks. But I'm going to use the app. You can find it in any of your app stores, whether you use an iPhone or an Android or whatever. And they're really great, like icebreaker questions. They're made for podcasters, obviously pod decks, but they're great icebreaker questions. So if you have to go into your next CEO meeting, I don't know if that's a thing or not. Maybe you could start a CEO meeting. I don't know. And you need some icebreakers, check out pod decks. But it's 5 questions. First thing that comes to the top of your head, no wrong answers. You ready?
Wait, I do have one quick question. Is it just a word? Is like a one-word response or a sentence?
No,
or just...
it's a response. It's You're answering the question
I got you. Okay.
Or statement or whatever.
I'm with you. Let's go. Let's do this.
All right. Question number 1. As a songwriter, what do you think is more important in a song, the melody or the lyrics?
100% the lyrics. If I cannot get into the depth of the words, the melody means nothing to me. I need the lyrics. But actually, interesting, I write melodies before I write lyrics, but the lyrics are actually more important.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Yeah, because I can listen to, I've listened to melodies before, and I can be brought to tears with melodies, but I think the words, I love a good turn of phrase.
100%.
And it can just literally hook you so much more.
If you disagree with this, go listen to some Bush albums, because some of those lyrics are garbage.
Listen to a garbage album. All of those lyrics are garbage. But they're good, but they're garbage. All right, question number 2. What famous celebrity chef would you want to cater your dinner party?
Oh man, I would have to have what's the angry one's name? Who's always
Gordon Ramsay?
Yeah, Gordon Ramsay. Yeah, I just want to just watch the show. Like the food, even if the food is mediocre, as long as I get to watch the show, because then I get to see how not to manage human beings.
Oh wow!
He can manage a chef. He can manage a line, but I don't know that he can manage humans.
He doesn't realize that it's actual people making the food.
Yeah. How do you keep the darkness in? Well, the darkness is Gordon Ramsay, so don't let him in.
So, question number 3. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would you live?
Man, that's a question my wife and I talk about all the time. the answer is where I'm living right now because, there's nothing holding us down. We can move anywhere. Yeah, we have kids, but kids are movable. So not the best answer because but North Augusta, South Carolina for right now. That doesn't mean I'm going to be here forever, but that's where I would live because that's where I'm at.
Wow. That's actually a very deep answer, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. All right, question number 4. What is your best childhood memory?
My best childhood memory. So I think about this quite a lot. I have an adopted brother named Jacob. And he's German. My parents adopted him when we were living overseas, him and his brother John. And so my brother Matt was always like mean to me as well, because he was an older brother and little skitscats, whatever. So I was coming home one day and he was being mean as usual. And it just finished snowing, and my brother Jacob, who's older than Matt, like chased him down with snowballs and like, I got you, bro. I'm going to get him, bro. And I remember just for the first time in my life being like, I've got a big brother who's going to get my other big brother.
Oh, wow.
So I know that's it's a childhood vengeance for brothers, but that's probably what pops in my head is Jacob chasing my brother Matt down with a snowball. I got you, bro.
That's awesome. But I mean, it's like you had a protector, finally you had
100%.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. And question number 5. If you could go back in time and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Yeah, well, it'd be a lot of stock advice. I mean, honestly, I think about that often. Man, if I could have gone back and said, buy Amazon, get on Tesla early. If you're going to do crypto, there are two areas in which you want to actually invest, and then outside of that, like stay away because it keeps crashing. I know that's terrible, but I think about security of self. And that's probably the advice I would give. Because that guy, I'm going to be honest, future Phil comes to young Phil. Young Phil's like, who the hell are you? No, thank you, old man.
I don't want to turn into you.
I don't want whatever I've got this lustrous music career happening in my house. I have rap artists come and record in my studio. I don't need you. So I don't even think my sage advice and years of history could convince that little shit to do anything different. So it doesn't matter, Rob. It doesn't matter. I would actually just beat the time machine with a sledgehammer. That way I can actually get some satisfaction.
Well, there you go. Well, that is our Fast Five, and that's the show, Phil. Thank you so much for being here, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I can't believe you were going to cancel on me.
Yeah, I know, right? Was I? I don't remember that. Phil, if folks want to keep up with you and what you've got going on, or just to see what life is like in the Philiverse, what's the best way they could do that?
Well, there are certain times in life you need a lawyer, and if you really need a lawyer, you want the best lawyer. Is this good? Am I working this?
Oh my God.
All joking aside, if you want to know what I do for a living, just go to bestlawyers.com. We make a peer review guide of lawyers. It's actually pretty legit. I believe in the product we produce. We analyze millions of data points every year, and that's not a marketing blurb. I'm just going out there. It's actually millions of data points we do. We do lawyer rankings and recognitions in over 70 countries.
Wow.
We recognize lawyers, law firms, and we actually just bought a new company this last week who is going to help us expand even further with digital content and marketing services. So if you're in the need for a lawyer, use bestlawyers.com. Okay. If you just want to know what I do for a living, you can go there. Honestly, my biggest, I have a little bit of social media, but I don't really accept friends. My LinkedIn, I've got like 28,000 connections. If you want to, that's where I'm a superstar. My kids make fun of me all the time. Like, yeah, Dad, you're super cool on LinkedIn. I'm like, people value my content I put out there.
They like it.
They like it. I just told them about the new rankings, and they're very excited.
They commented a lot.
Yeah, they comment a lot. So if you reach out on LinkedIn, I'll probably connect with you.
Okay.
Facebook or
Instagram, I probably won't. But don't be offended. I don't connect with hardly anybody on that. He doesn't connect with me, so I understand. Phil, again, I appreciate you being here, man. I love you, and I wish you nothing but the best with everything that's going on in your life, man. Well, I appreciate it, man. Much love back, and thank you for letting me fill this time. And if you would like to support this podcast, I would appreciate it if you bought me a coffee at chewingthefatbr.com. But until next time, I look forward to the chance we have to sit a spell and chew the fat.